Welcome to Module 1 of the Qlause Internal Auditor course, aligned to ISO 19011, published in May 2026. This module lays the foundations, what audits are actually for, the three types you will meet, the vocabulary you must use precisely, the principles that govern the work, and what the 2026 edition changed. Before we start, a reminder about how this course works. The time allocated to each module covers the whole study method. You read the module in the study guide. You read the referenced clauses in your own licensed copy of the standard. You watch this video, and then you take the quiz. This video is the guided lesson inside that method. It is not the whole of it. Work in that order and the quiz will look straightforward. So what will you be able to do when this module is finished? 5 things. Explain what an internal audit is for and name the 3 failure modes that make audit programs worthless. Distinguish first, second, and third-party audits and the very different stakes attached to each. Use the core vocabulary precisely: criteria, evidence, findings, conclusions. Apply the 7 principles of auditing as working rules rather than poster text. And summarize what the 2026 edition changed and why it changed. Start with the definition, because everything else hangs off it. An audit is a systematic, independent, evidence-based examination. It asks 2 questions. Does reality match the requirements we claim to work to? And is the system achieving what it exists to achieve? Internal audit is the organization choosing to find its own problems before customers, regulators, or certification bodies find them for it, at a fraction of the price those parties charge for exactly the same discovery. That is the entire business case for internal audit. And notice the condition attached to it. It only holds if the audit actually looks. Which brings us to the 3 ways an audit program rots. Every auditor should be able to name them. First, the courtesy audit. A friendly walkthrough, no sampling depth, nothing found, tea afterwards. Second, the checklist ritual. 200 yes-no boxes ticked at speed, conformity confirmed, effectiveness never once examined. Third, the ambush. Audit as a punishment expedition, which very efficiently teaches the organization to hide things from its own immune system. All 3 produce paperwork, none of them produce knowledge. This course builds the 4th kind, the professional audit, planned around risk, sampled with intent, evidenced beyond argument, and reported so that management can actually act. Now the 3 types. A first-party audit is internal. The organization audits itself, and ISO 9001 Clause 9.2 makes that a requirement rather than a courtesy. The stake is self-knowledge and improvement, and it is the dress rehearsal for everything else. A second-party audit is a customer auditing its supplier, or someone auditing on that customer's behalf. The stake there is commercial, approval, continuation, or development of the relationship. A third-party audit is an independent certification body auditing against a standard, and the stake is the certificate your customers and tenders demand. ISO 19011 gives guidance for first- and second-party auditing, and it carries the discipline that sits underneath third-party work as well. One method serves all 3, which is why an internal auditor trained properly to this standard is never surprised by what a certification auditor does. Next, the vocabulary. And please, use it precisely, because sloppy language is where weak audits begin. Audit criteria are the reference you audit against: standard clauses, your own procedures, legal requirements, contract terms. Audit evidence is verifiable: records, statements of fact, and other information relevant to those criteria. An audit finding is what you get when you evaluate the evidence against the criteria: conformity, non-conformity, or an opportunity for improvement. And the audit conclusion is the overall outcome, once the findings are weighed against the objectives you set for the audit. The chain matters more than any single link: criteria to evidence to finding to conclusion. Break any link: a finding with no criteria behind it, a conclusion unsupported by findings, and the audit stops being an audit. It becomes an opinion with a clipboard. 7 principles govern the work. Integrity. Do the work honestly, within your competence, resisting pressure to soften or sharpen what you found. Fair presentation. Report truthfully and completely, including the disagreements you could not resolve and the obstacles you met. Due professional care. Judgment proportionate to the stakes. Prepared, punctual, focused. Confidentiality. Audit information is used for the audit, never as gossip, leverage, or trophies. Independence. You do not audit your own work, and impartiality is guarded at both program and audit level. Evidence-based approach. Findings rest on verifiable evidence drawn from sampling, and another competent auditor should be able to reproduce them. And risk-based approach. Effort follows what matters, to the program, to the audit, and to each day's minutes on site. All 7 carry into 2026 intact. So what did the 2026 edition change? It was published in May 2026, replacing the 2018 edition with immediate effect. Guidance has no transition period. The revision is evolutionary rather than a rewrite, but several themes matter to a working auditor. Remote and hybrid auditing move from exception to normal practice, chosen on risk and evidence quality rather than habit. Digital evidence and data analytics enter the standard toolkit. Live system access, dashboards, logs, with matching care for data protection. The risk-based approach deepens, aligning programs to what actually threatens the organization's objectives instead of to a flat calendar. Auditor competence expands to include digital tools and remote communication. Audit programs are positioned as strategic instruments that feed decision-making. And context themes, including climate considerations, reach the audit world too. Modules 2 to 7 build each of these into the method. One practice note before we close, because it is easy to get this backwards. Internal audit is a requirement of ISO 9001, Clause 9.2. ISO 19011 is the guidance on how to do it well. Your organization will never receive a finding written against 19011. That is not how guidance works. But a certification auditor assessing your internal audit program is silently comparing it to this standard's picture of competence. Meeting that picture is what this course trains you to do. That is Module 1. Before you move on, reread Module 1 in the study guide. The tables there are your reference material, and you will want them again in Module 5. Then take the Module 1 quiz. 10 questions, pass mark 80%, and a fresh attempt after targeted restudy if you fall short. Module 2 lifts you up a level, to the audit program itself. Objectives, risk, scheduling, methods, and resources, under Clause 5 of the standard.